Hello, welcome to Classic Black Dude with your host, Clark Jones, a.k.a. Pod Strickland. We here, and I'm happy, man. I'm in Chicago recording. This is our first out of LA recording, and we on the move, man. I'm on tour, as they say, a.k.a. taking Megabus. You know what I mean? They don't get as many likes, but we keep it real on the pod. Classic Black Dude, the podcast that brings everybody together. You know, it's not just comedians, even though that's my network. I got a large reach. I got a lot of people I know from different places and experts on different things. I don't know everything. I spent my whole life just trying to know a little bit about something so I could at least have a conversation with different people about different things that's going on. Now, obviously, I love black dudes. For anybody who follows me, I tend to talk about that in my stand-up. This is the 1-year anniversary of my first album coming out. First of all, it's still streaming. Y'all are still moderately listening to it, and I appreciate everybody who actually bought it off Amazon, the $9.99. That ain't seen my pockets yet, but everybody who listened to it on what's the one streaming that actually it's not on it's not XM yet. It's
Sirius.
Pandora. Ooh. Pandora. I get money off the Pandora, so if you listen to it on Pandora, make sure you do. All right. No further ado, I'm very excited about our guest today. We're making history. Last podcast we had the first women that I covered on Classic Black Dude. This is the first non-comedian on the show. Been knowing this dude since 2001, approximately. We got another more, so we got two Morehouse men in the same place. Two of America's most smartest. Two people who know a lot about something. Ulysseus Burley.
Yeah, man, what's going on?
I don't want to steal people's round of applause, but we gonna do it. Because it's common. Very accomplished. So happy to have him here. He's the creator of at UB The Cure, health professional. He served on the presidential advisory for HIV AIDS.
Yeah, man.
Is that still big?
You know what, man?
Is AIDS still like? Are people still worried? Like, I feel like it happens in waves where people talk about AIDS.
Right.
Is that the thing? Is HPV the thing? What's the thing?
Yeah, so all of the above, right?
Yeah.
We're almost 40 years into the epidemic.
Okay, so that's 79.
So 81 was when it was officially identified, right?
Okay.
So we almost 40 years in the epidemic. And in those 40 years, man, we've lost 40 million people worldwide.
Okay.
We got almost 40 million people worldwide living with HIV right now. So still a big deal, man.
It's still like... What about in our community? Like, because you talk to people, right? You go around the country, you give lectures, you say, like, are people still ignorant to what's the biggest, like, fact that surprises people when you talk about, like, the epidemic and, like, how to, because there's all types of people, people still think it's a gay disease, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe one of the biggest surprises is that of the top 10 countries in the world with the highest number of people living with HIV, the United States is 9th, right? So we're the only high-income country in the top 10. So all the other countries are either African countries or India.
India,
yeah. India's got a billion people, so they got
the numbers skew that way.
Yeah, they got an epidemic. I mean, we're a large country too, but we're only high-income country in that top 10, right? And so,
right.
You talk about the United States epidemic, man. It's about 1.1 million people living with HIV.
Okay.
And
in the United States, 1.1 million. Okay.
1.1 million people. 1 in 7 of those people don't even know they have the virus. Right. So that's like 14%.
Yeah.
Which is an issue because now nearly 80% or plus of new infections originate from people who either just don't know that they have HIV,
right,
or people who have HIV but aren't being treated. Does
it skew a certain way gender based?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So men who have sex with men are at greatest risk, right?
Okay.
They account for over 70% of new infections.
And that's just because, the ass is has so many nerve endings, right?
Yeah, so it's
blood vessels.
It's actually there is a biological physiological reason for that actually.
Okay. And apologize to anybody if I don't use the right terminology or if I come off crass. I'm not a doctor. right? Everybody's an expert on everything. James is laughing. See, he's ignorant, but I just don't know the terminology. That's why I have you be here, because he's going to say like, hey, Clark, that's not what we say anymore.
Yeah. Well,
or that's not the right term. You can't just be like, the ass got a lot of blood, whatever. You got to be like, the anal sex is one of the easiest way to transpire, men or women, right?
Yeah, simply put.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if you got into it, like the type of cell specifically that HIV infects, the CD4 cell, there's more of them in the rectum than there are, say, in the vagina or in the like the male shaft, the penis, right? And so then when you couple that with, you know, the vagina naturally lubricates to prepare for sex, things of that nature. The anus, not so much. Right. And so then penetration becomes more of a mechanical
and chafing
thing.
Yeah.
And so abrasions, breaks, tears, any kind of trauma increases the likelihood of that barrier being broken.
Yeah.
So that HIV could get through to those cells that are necessary. So that's kind of like the biological basis for it. But even more than that is really grounded in like stigma, like stigmatization of like LGBTQ people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like are cities like, and let's just keep it 100. Cities like Atlanta and San Francisco, is that where that's traditionally historically been known for, like, you know, a high homosexual population?
Yeah.
Correct?
So if we statistically, the US South accounts for the most LGBTQ plus identified persons.
Okay.
So like those 14 states that consider the US South. State-wise, California, just as a single state, has the most LGBTQ persons.
Lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgender, questioning
or queer. And intersex.
Okay.
Which is a more...
What's intersex?
More appropriate name for hermaphrodite. And so people who were born with both sex organs, either internally or externally. Or people who were born with ambiguous sex organs, intersex.
One of the things that's big, and I even have a joke about it. Everybody's talking about it ever since the grocery song came out. What are the safe ways to be eating ass now? Because everybody's talking about that, and it's such a big cool thing. And like, I'm not even saying that. Like, we're just a highly impressionable culture right now with so much social media. You hear this over and over and over again. People do things because that's what everybody's talking about, and it's being highly encouraged in comedy circles and just in raps or whatever, in the arts. So like, is there a safe way? Because people are doing it.
Right.
I don't need it. I'm just talking about me. I don't need it, but I want to know if people are doing it. Like, I ain't one of them old school where it's like, just don't do it. Because that was a lot of my sex talk when I was coming up. Certain things were just like, well, just don't do it.
Right,
but motherfuckers are doing it. So like, what are precautions people need to be taking?
I mean, straight up, bro.
It just got real. We was job interview earlier, and then, hey, straight up, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna tell you like this.
There an inherent risk in engaging in any type of sexual activity. Right?
Absolutely.
So that's A. There are some risks in engaging in things like fellatio or eating behind, as you say.
You beings from Texas, they say behind.
Yeah, so you know, HPV has kind of been one of the kind of main infections or viruses that you hear about when you think about like eating behind. And the truth is, and so here's why. So a lot of people don't know this, but HPV is actually the most common sexually transmitted infection.
Oh yeah, everybody got it, right?
Pretty much. So like, like if you ever had sex, like in your lifetime, you'll probably have HPV and you'll probably clear it. The good news is now we got a vaccine, Gardasil. Like within the last 5 years, we've gotten this vaccine that'll like prevent against like the 9 types. So that like there are hundreds of types of HPV strains.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but there are like 9 that could actually mess you up, like so could result in like cancer or something like that later on. And even more specifically, they're like 4, like 4 strains of HPV. And so this Gardasil like specifically protects against that 9 and then those even more severe 4 strains of HPV. And so it's designed to prepare the body before you actually have your first sexual encounter, right?
So Gardasil sound like something you put on preemptively. Is that true?
I mean, it's a vaccine just like you get a flu shot.
So it's okay. Yeah, it's after.
But it's designed to engage like the teenager, like so before they had their first sexual encounter, so that when they are sexually active down the road, their body is already like prepared for it. It's like, oh, I already saw this, and so now I know how to beat it or how to fight it.
Yeah,
and then in that way we can cut down. And you be able to eat butt more freely.
It shouldn't be somewhere you have second thoughts. Like you should just. And first of all, man, like don't be eating multiple butts. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, vet the butt.
Like vet it, because it needs air.
Yeah, because that's really intimate,
then
right?
Vet it.
Like it's really intimate. Like
you would think so.
Yeah,
but we're from a different generation.
Yeah, I mean,
we graduated college over 10 years ago, so like I don't even know. It's like. This new generation, like the I don't know, millennials after us, because we're kind of like in between. Like they're just very, they look at things differently. It's a lot more intimate right away. Where our music was very much like, don't give a fuck about none of these broads. And we went to school in Atlanta at the prime of it, where everything was just like. It was fucking terrible. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially in today's context. And you from Houston, so you know exactly where I'm coming from. How did you navigate that from? Because you're not like that at all now. Neither one of us really. I mean, I still love the music, but like you, if you follow UB, you see that he's enlightened. Right, and he's from Houston, but he's where a lot of the strip clubs and fucking and all of that. Like, what kept you away from, and even me from the South Side of Chicago? What was your way out of that kind of circle and that kind of life? What enlightened you?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, let me first say to each their own.
Yeah,
I think everybody has the freedom to enjoy the full range of human sexuality.
Yeah,
legally and consensually. And the human sexuality that doesn't harm others.
Right.
Let me first say that I've always kind of been a different kind of dude, just around certain things.
Yeah.
Like for example, I've never been in a strip club.
Get the fuck out of here!
I've never been in a strip club, and. It's not like people think it's like some moral thing, but like I ain't got money to like spend on
shake joints
looking, like I'm kind of a like if I want my sexual experiences to be like physical touch is one of my love languages, and so so I never saw it as a good like use of my resources. Nothing against exotic dancing.
School in Atlanta, born in Houston.
Yeah, bro. Never been to a strip club. Now I've been around strippers like bachelor parties. Yeah, bachelor parties, stuff like that.
It be HBV there too, man. Y'all gotta stop. I saw this sheep poured like some water down, and it like some liquids came out. My man was like standing underneath her. He didn't know that was gonna happen. He was just like, he likes underneath looking up at the vagina, and then some liquid came out of his mouth, and he ran out the room. So be careful. All I'm saying, if you're gonna be down there, be ready.
It was really just a lot of personal choices, man. It wasn't necessarily my influence. I mean, I grew up around all kinds of people, into all kinds of things, man. And personally, I decided not to drink. I never had a drink. So that surprises people sometimes.
This definitely surprises me because the reason I originally met you, B, was we was both going up for Alpha Phi Alpha, which he is a member. So he made it, I didn't. And
hey man, I ain't had nothing to do with that.
I don't know. Come on, man. I was still going afterwards. I was still. They had a ban on me afterwards, man. I wore like a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey, and they was like, "Well, Clark's never gonna be Alpha now."
Hey, the bros can't be petty like that.
Of course, but I was also being petty because like the next day, I think it was like the next day when I found out who did make line, I was just like, "Well, fuck it. I don't even like Pittsburgh, but I'm throwing my jersey on. They can't stop me no more from wearing my black and gold whenever I want to." So that's how I originally, but even with that, Morehouse as a thing, and I think interests in a certain fraternity just have common threads, period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yo, I didn't make line, and that's fine. I've gotten past that. But most of my friends who I kick it with are your line brothers or your frat brothers. Because it's all...
And it's always Morehouse over
It's always Morehouse over everything. Yeah. But so I bring that up because, shit, a part of a process is the drinking part.
Yeah, man. The bros told me 2 things were going to happen by the time, like, I crossed. They was like, hey, you're not going to be with your girl no more, because I had been with the same girl since, like, freshman year of high school. And then B, they was like, you going to drink. One of those 2 things was true.
Right. So you didn't drink.
I did drink.
I didn't drink.
But, yeah, me and my girl at the time probably didn't last another semester after I actually crossed.
Because it was just the chicks coming after you, right?
Yeah, it was.
Don't be humble, man. It's a thing.
It was a part of, like, it opens up a new network, right?
Yo,
and
it's
accessibility.
Like, it's like it's like at at predominantly white schools, even in high school, the star quarterback, right? But y'all were all star quarterbacks if you took advantage of this new thing. It was a celebritydom around the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So you went through a phase, I'm sure.
Right. It wasn't even. It was just like, man, this is the only girl I've ever been with, like, ever. And now I'm getting, like, I made it to, like, my junior year of college.
Yeah.
Like, now I'm getting like noticed and access to, like, a whole, like,
range of bro.
And, like, I wasn't even flagrant about it. Like I had a conversation, like, yo, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like I'm starting to, like, actually, like, notice other women for the first time.
It's different. Yeah.
And, like, I'm not the type of dude to just be out here, like, flagrant on you. And so I think we should take a break. And she was basically like, I mean, what was I gonna say? No.
Was she still in Houston, or was she?
Nah, she was at Xavier. She was
and
I was running to New Orleans, like, every 2 weeks, bro, trying to make it happen. Like,
but you couldn't do that while you was online.
Right, exactly. And then she went online for AKA the very next semester. So it was like we had a whole year where we was both pledging or whatnot. And then after that summer, it was like, yeah,
she did her thing too,
to my
right?
senior year of college, like, yeah. So I wilded out senior year, if I'm just honest.
You went through a phase, right?
Yeah.
Now, when did that end?
It was like the catch up.
When did the phase end? Because I know it carried over after college a little bit.
So
too.
I mean, college resulted in this. I've always been, like, a relationship dude.
Okay.
And so, like, I had a phase. And then one of them, like, was, like, my girl for, like, another 2 years.
Okay.
Like, outside of college.
Yeah.
And then that ran its course. And then you go through another phase.
Yeah.
And then you have another girlfriend for a couple of years. And so that's kind of been my and I've been out of the game for about 5 years now. So.
Congratulations, man. I'm going to get there one day. I'm like Benjamin Button when it come to, like, fucking around. Like, I used to be, in my 20s, I was all relationship. It was like, I would fuck around a little bit, but when I went to school in Atlanta, coming from Chicago, I was like, yo, I don't want to get nobody pregnant, and I don't want to get AIDS.
Facts.
Like, it was that, like, I used to, like, wake up in sweats. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because I was so scared of it. Yeah. And they showed us that movie during orientation our first week called 1 Week. Where, like, some nigga got AIDS.
It was traumatizing.
It was like, damn.
Yeah.
So
point of clarification.
What?
So AIDS, in and of itself, just the acronym, is really stigmatizing now.
How so?
Well, because people associate it with, like, the 80s and the 90s where everybody was dying, right?
Right.
So now it's more acceptable to say HIV, because the fact is everybody who has AIDS has HIV, but not everybody who has HIV has AIDS, right?
Does Magic have anything anymore?
Magic is still living with HIV.
I heard he ain't got nothing, bro.
So here's the thing. So
HPV at worst, but that's what I got. So me and Magic.
So Magic still is accounted for in that 1.1 million people living with HIV, but biomedically, he virtually has nothing anymore. So here's how. So now we've got medication called highly active antiretroviral therapy, right?
Okay.
And we now know that people living with HIV, if they are on consistent combination therapy, if they adhere to it the way in which they're supposed to, they can achieve what we call viral suppression. And so that means that the amount of HIV in their bodies is so low that it cannot be detected by a traditional HIV and AIDS test, first and foremost. But even more importantly, you cannot transmit the virus to somebody else, even if you engage in unprotected sex. And so now people living with HIV who have access to medication, who adhere to it, and who've reached viral suppression are as healthy as people who are not living with HIV and can keep the people who they love healthy as well. And so in a sense, Magic has had access to those medications for a very long time when a lot of people haven't. And so Magic has likely been virally suppressed for a very long time.
Right.
Which means biomedically that Magic virtually is walking around without HIV in his body.
He got a Magic Johnson
without
now.
HIV in his body. But the good news is there are a lot of other people who've achieved that as well who don't have Magic's resources or celebrity. And that's the best thing that's come out of all of this. And so, yeah, man, I mean.
Even with that, these are two questions that I've always wondered, and I'm asking, trying to gather as many questions about this for people who are listening, regardless of race, but especially we just like to fuck around a lot. One, it's easier for a man to give it to a woman than a woman to give it to a man. Is that true?
True.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's just because of anatomy.
Right. Yeah. The secretions ain't as strong.
Well, just women. If you like, a woman's anatomy was created to receive. If that
that sounds sexy, but it's not what we're talking about.
But you know what I'm saying?
What they received it.
So in that sense, from a sense of anatomy, like the woman's vaginal environment is just much more open.
It received
and accessible as opposed to. Like a man's penis, and even like the level of foreskin we have. So like we have research now that says that men who have been circumcised are less likely to contract HIV and AIDS because the foreskin contained a lot of cells, and so that's access. Right. And so we removed that foreskin, and so now we've removed a point of entry. And so you have grown men in countries on the continent of Africa who are lining up to get circumcised. Because it decreases their likelihood of HIV transmission.
I want to talk about that some more. We got to take a quick break here on Classic Black Dude. We got my man Ulysseus Burley. Do we say the third or does it?
Yeah, the third. The third.
Ulysses
Respect
Burley,
my daddy and my granddaddy.
Founder of at UB The Cure. We talking about like, man, the right way to fuck, right way to eat ass, right way to be intimate. Fact, we trying to clear stuff up, man, because we do a lot of jokes, and I've had comedians. He's the first non-comedian on the show, so you know you could. That's what I love about this podcast. You could just listen to it in your car. You ain't gotta, people ain't gotta know that you trying to make yourself better or whatever toxic masculine way you got to deal with it. We'll be right back on Classic Black Dude, the podcast. Welcome back to Classic Black Dude. Very special guest. So glad we covering a lot in the first half of the show. We talked about we dispelled some myths and we affirmed some truths. Right? That what is it? America's the 9th leading country in the HIV AIDS epidemic.
And the number of people living with HIV.
Number of people, 1.1 million.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson, he ain't really got it because he rich. And y'all know how I hate capital. I don't hate capitalism. I'm clearly Jordaned out, but it's only because we in capitalism.
Magic's still living with HIV.
He's still living with it.
But he ain't gonna die because of HIV.
He ain't you never. It ain't too late. Like if he get too full of himself, you never know what might happen. I don't know what women. It's crazy, and that's the thing I want to bring up right now. Like before we went to break, we were talking about like more. What was it, African men or worldwide more men are getting circumcised?
Men specifically in countries with high risk for HIV infection. Yeah, so continent of Africa, yeah.
Are you familiar with all this, like, the underground sex, like, camps where, like, British women, white women are going to Africa just to get, like, banged down? And it's a big currency involved with that?
I mean, I'm familiar with sex trafficking, and I would probably file that under sex trafficking.
Absolutely.
Of some sort. That brand of sex trafficking specifically, I mean, I've heard about, like, white women going to, like, the Caribbeans and the countries and places like that for an experience.
You're so PC. I love it. I love it. We will never cancel UB ever. I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna say some English. I can't never run for office ever. But I mean, Trump.
Well,
you know what I mean?
He's white, bro. He's white.
He is white and he is rich. But I don't even want to. I just like criticizing shit. But yeah, man, nobody talks about the sex trafficking of men as much. It's not, and it's a big issue. Yeah, this isn't just classic black dude. Ain't just American dudes. So even the fellas over there in Africa that's listening, in Africa and parts of the South America.
Yeah, I've lived in South America for a year.
Yeah. What part? Was you in Brazil? Argentina?
Yeah.
That I mean, Argentinian women obviously beautiful, right?
Yeah.
I've heard about a lot of dudes going down there and just like having a weekend. I'm just like, bro, the numbers.
We met a dude in Brazil, a brother from the States, and he had a whole family down there, bro. And like he was telling us, like he was communicating it to us like it was like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And like a family back home who didn't really know he ain't speak no Portuguese, nothing, bro.
But the sex trafficking down there, the sex industry, I should say, down there is crazy. And then like dudes are getting like, this is another myth. I've never been to South America, but what about all of this like dudes getting their organs taken and stuff like that? Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know about that, man. I mean, listen, bro. I read a lot of stuff, right?
I'm sorry for throwing everything that I can. Anything I read, fake articles, real articles. I'm asking you.
I can't confirm or deny it. I wouldn't put it past people.
Yeah.
Right.
I've seen some things on what's your porn like go to?
Front page of Pornhub, baby.
Pornhub is a whole category of just like dudes going to Argentina. And
really?
Like, it's everything, as you know. Do you have a favorite? Do you go to X videos?
Nah, I don't, man.
You don't do none of that.
So again, it goes back to the whole.
I know you don't like talking personal.
No, but it's cool. Yeah. It goes back to the whole strip club thing. Like, I'm a very like physical touch person.
It has to be
and
the
so
real.
Like I'm kind of.
That's just not what
I don't have a good middle part. It's like let's get to it.
If we gonna get to, you know what? We all men. We're very secure in our manhood. We're gonna really talk about some. Okay. We're both in our 30s, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about like their physical changes. These gas station blue pills, are they how bad are they? Should men stop taking these things?
I mean, if you get them from the gas station,
that's probably not a good look. Anything under $20 is probably not what you want to do.
Yeah, man. Nah, it's cool.
Is it cool?
It's cool if you end up with an erection for longer than like 4 hours. Like that's the issue, bro. You need to go to the emergency room.
They are not them things. You got to give them a good 30. You know what I mean? They ain't even doing the 4. They're not strong. But I think they'll give us like, I don't know. Just go to the doctor.
You need that though in your 30s?
I'm diabetic.
True.
So and diabetes, and blood flow is a thing. Because I work out, I'm in pretty decent shape. It's only about that. I still love them.
That's real.
But I really would like one girl, so it's not an explanation. You know what I'm saying? No, every single time. I'm just being honest with y'all.
Well, let me tell you about another blue pill that can cover you on that.
What's that?
So like PrEP. Have you heard of that?
No.
So there's been like a lot of commercials around it. I think the main brand that's being marketed is Truvada. So Truvada is PrEP.
And that's OTC?
It's not over the counter. You have to have a prescription for it.
Okay.
But it is a blue pill also that you can take once daily that will, with 99% certainty, prevent the transmission of HIV. And so if you're an HIV negative person, and you're considered, what we call in public health high risk for HIV infection, so men who have sex with men, transgender women, basically anybody who has sex with men, because men carry the greatest burden of HIV in the country.
Right.
If you're in those high risk groups, you can take this once daily blue pill and continue to have unprotected sex and virtually not be at risk for HIV infection. That doesn't prevent all the other STIs or STDs.
So you, as a person, if you're negative, you
gotta be
take
negative.
this pill, and then that lowers your chances.
Yeah,
of
99%. Like if you adhere to it, yeah. So it's also a blue pill. PrEP.
So you gotta take the initiative on that, or you could, cover yourself up.
Or you could do that. But something we realize, man, in biomedicine, like we can't account for human behavior, right? So we have to create biomedicine that covers human behavior.
We have to do as much as we can to kind of circumvent people just not, because you just had them weekends sometimes, or you get drunk. It's so many factors. Yeah. Depression is big right now, where you just like, I know when I go through my depression phase, that's when I'm at my worst. Yeah, because I feel like, well, and I don't harm. I harm myself. Yeah, but
which, to be clear, is the case for people suffering from mental illness. Most people might harm themselves, but they don't go out harming other people. And I think, to tangent, every time we have a mass shooting or something like that, and people throw around a mental health issue, and like that's not standard for people living with mental illness. Like they don't go around hurting other people. So I'm glad you said that. You might harm yourself, which we don't want, but you ain't going around trying to hurt other people.
How was that? How was all the throwing around of depression and mental health? How does that affect your work and what you're doing?
I mean, I think it sullies my work, man. It really stigmatizes good people, who don't go around. I mean, bro, black people been oppressed and kicked around for centuries, bro, and we not going around killing people. You know what I'm saying?
The dope boys ain't ever shut up schools. That's not what they do. Yeah, I ain't never heard of it, and I'm from 79th and Damon.
So I think it does a disservice it re-stigmatizes mental health as a whole when we immediately label people who have not been diagnosed having mental health issues as a result of their violent action.
What do you think it would take for more men of color to actually seek out professional help?
Yeah. Oh man, it's like generational conditioning. Yeah. So it's gonna take like some generations to like undo like that conditioning, right?
It just seems like it's kind of the wave right now. Big Sean and
and I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, man. It's like, especially like in like you say with men, but black men in the black community, right? Yeah. Like mental illness has been like highly stigmatized, like as a weakness, right?
Right. You need somebody. When you go to church,
right. And that's a big part of it too. Black people are the most religious people in the country, right? Religious has played its part in stigmatizing. I mean, even some of our scriptures, right? Disease, but also diseases of the mind.
Has that affected the climate? Has it affected your outlook? Because you were raised in church, right?
Yeah. And I'm a person of faith. I follow the teachings of Jesus. Okay. But I mean, I'm open to all spiritual possibilities. Okay. And it does, man. I've had to unlearn and deconstruct some things to be effective in my own work. And now I try to help other people do that as well, man.
It just seems so extreme either way. Like either it's like pro Jesus or like throw it all out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I ain't never been. I mean, I'm in comedy. I work with a lot of comics who practice atheism and they're agnostic. And I'm just like, black people is different. Like part of it, we got Christianity from slave masters, but like they're also. That was a part of surviving this hard time to believe like, there's gotta be something bigger than this. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it would be hard to be going through all that and be like, this is just it. So part of it was the survival or just to keep you going like, well, maybe if I act right here, then we'll make it to the glory of heaven on the other side. Yeah. So whatever you need, I guess, to get through, because life is still hard, but I just hate when people are like, whatever they doing to be happy, let them do that. You know what I mean?
Straight up.
Like people get mad because you go to church and it's like, that ain't got nothing to do with you. That ain't. But everybody has an opinion about everything, right? You do this professionally. You've worked Was it with Obama or was it with Trump too?
So I was appointed to Obama's Presidential Advisory Council on HIV and AIDS.
That's wild. And you had a girl at the time?
Yeah.
Damn.
When
damn, bro.
When Trump took office. So wait, so let me be clear. I had a girl eventually. So when I got appointed, I didn't. I had to do the math. But when Trump took office, I resigned. And so it was actually made international news. I was one of 6 people, the Pacha 6, who resigned. We were the first of many advisory groups to resign as a protest.
So 2016, as soon as he took office, you like, I'm
so
out of there.
2017. So it was inaugurated in 2017.
Gotcha.
We met with the administration for the first time in like March. Mm-hmm. And then by May, it was right after Trump and his surrogates, acolytes, stood in like the Rose Garden. It was like April, announcing their attempts to repeal and replace ACA.
Yeah.
So after that, it was like clearly this dude didn't hear anything we said, and we don't know if we can continue to serve and work with this administration. So it was like he got inaugurated and we was like, we peace out. Yeah. It was like he got inaugurated and we was like, we're gonna wait and see, what this dude is talking about.
He showed that he was gonna be on some. He wasn't. It was just deaf ears. To what
so by May, there was commotion among us. Like, yo, I don't know that I can continue to, like, morally, like,
right,
ethically. I don't know if I can continue to serve in this capacity. And when it was all said and done, 6 of us had decided that we would walk away. But we would do so in a public enough fashion so that it would bring attention to HIV and AIDS. And so subsequently, Trump made statements. Mm-hmm. But eventually he went on and fired everybody else in that December anyway. Went a year without any HIV and AIDS counsel on the executive level. And then at the beginning of this year, they reappointed new presidential advisory councils on HIV and AIDS with the rollout of the Ending the Epidemic Plan, which is a federal plan that targets 57 counties, U.S. territories, states, and cities.
Was that created by Barack?
With the highest, no. So the national HIV and AIDS strategy was created by Barack in 2010. It was the first national HIV strategy ever. The Ending the Epidemic Plan is a Trump thing. He announced it during his State of the Union. It appropriates $291 million to those 57 territories that I mentioned with the highest burden of HIV and AIDS, specifically community-based, grassroots level organizations. And so, commendable. We'll take the money. We'll use it. But obviously there are other aspects of what the administration does and says policy-wise as it relates to LGBTQ people, as it relates to people of color, as it relates to poor people, as it relates to healthcare, that continue to contradict any movement to really end the HIV epidemic.
Do you feel like, because whenever something like that happens, people go like, well, we need people at the table. We need the right people at the table. So was there like some pushback from within, from you, like, damn, if I leave, then who's going to be speaking for this thing?
Yeah, I struggled with it. I was one of the people who came along more slowly. Like, it took me like a whole month to decide whether or not I was going, like, being real, whether or not I was going to join the others. And part of that was because, I was given this seat at this table. I represent a certain level of certain people. If I'm not there, then who speaks on their behalf?
Right.
But then the other part was also being complicit in, tyranny.
Yeah.
And
outnumbered,
having
and
my own values. And so I had people, who say, as you say, like, man, you were there for us and now you're not there no more. And, that was the issue. And then I had other people who commended me. And I had people who said, man, you should have stayed in that position for yourself, like for self benefit, because that exists too, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not any of those people, but
everybody can tell you how to do it. They never did it.
Yeah. But I am accountable to certain groups of people, and so in the long run, I don't have any regrets. I think I would do it the same way, especially considering how the administration has gone on to be exactly who we thought they were. right?
You follow him politically? You think it's not inauguration, the opposite of inauguration, the impeachment?
Yeah. So,
are you keeping up with it?
Yeah. So for my mental health, bro, like after the 2016 presidential campaign, I stopped watching cable news.
Okay.
Wholesale.
Okay.
And I stopped watching live interviews of politicians.
Okay.
And so I haven't heard voluntarily, I haven't heard Trump's voice since he took office. All of my news I read.
Only in meme format.
Yeah, only in meme format. So I had to do that for my mental health, bro.
Got to.
Because it was being a part of an administration in D.C. At the executive level, and then expecting one thing, and then like when Trump got when it looked like it was getting late in the night on election night, and it looked like it was a turn, and like he was gonna be president. I remember going to sleep, bro, with like a sick feeling, bro.
Yeah.
And
you could feel it.
Yeah, and like woke up like, what? WTF? Like, bro, like what just happened? And like I'm laying next to my lady, and she's not as engaged as I am, and she's a Southside Chicago girl, and she was like,
she just used to seeing horrible politicians.
Yeah, she was like,
this ain't nothing.
Like, nigga, you'll be all right.
I made it through dailies,
and
they kill here in Washington.
Like, and that's when I realized that I had to like take a step back because it was like impacting like my health, right?
And that'll fuck with your whole attitude. Yeah, I always say like, look. Like people worry about their physical diet, what they eat and all that, but like that stuff is that's why it's called a news feed. Yeah, because it's a part of your mental diet.
And so like I'm an empath. Like I care about people.
Same.
And absolutely. I knew what that meant for our country, for our people, right? So to your point, I do follow politics. I just read it. I try not to watch it or listen to it. I digest it the way in which it's healthy for me, and so I read it. That to that end. If we were going to impeach Trump, we should have brought impeachment proceedings against him a long time ago. Let me first say that.
True.
We impeached Bill Clinton for getting head, right?
Yep.
Consensual head.
It was of age,
and so if from that precedent alone, like Trump probably should have never been elected president, and shouldn't have been allowed to continue to serve with allegations. With audio that we've heard, and otherwise, but at this juncture, my biggest priority is to make sure that he's a one-term president.
Right. Put all the other bullshit aside about.
Now, understanding optically how politics work, understanding political precedent. Congress had to act against this latest information against President Trump because you can't allow him to set this new precedent of unfettered behavior in the Oval Office.
It's almost like a federal case in that like their thing is not losing, right? So you don't want to you want to impeach because for those who don't know, impeachment is not being thrown out of office.
Removal,
impeachment is bringing up the charges so you can start to act to remove somebody. Right. So like for those listening, it's a difference between being ousted and being impeached. Yeah. Bill Clinton was impeached, but he wasn't removed. Right. So,
and you know what? That's a good distinction because by and large, most of Trump supporters don't care about impeachment and probably don't even know what impeachment is.
Right.
And I think that's important.
I think the world is kind of dumb to it. Like,
I think that's important. Like, I don't think this is going to impact him politically at all.
He don't give a fuck.
And neither do his supporters.
Right.
In fact, I think it might embolden his supporters.
That's the other problem with it too, because everybody's looking at it as like for those out there who know about Maslow's hierarchy, right? So like I think the first is you need water and bread to survive.
Yeah, basic needs.
And then I think the third one is the need to be a part of something. So this is why I hate labels, because you have to follow whatever the label is, right? So you're either for Trump or against. There's no nuance. There's the death of it. So just the fact that they're bringing up these charges. Anything that's is against them, people aren't even weighing it. If they're I'm a Trump supporter,
it doesn't matter.
And that's what they identify. That's your identity now, right? So they have to do. I'm excited by the fact that if they even put in the articles for it, it's like they might have a sound case, right? Because it was other shit before that we like that's definitely impeachable. But you gotta make sure you win.
Yeah. But either way, bro, the Senate's not gonna impeach Trump. I mean, you gotta have the votes in the Senate. It's not.
Gotta have the votes in the Senate. Also, nobody wants President Pence. That's my issue.
50 times worse, dude.
Yeah. See, we got James talking about it. He was quiet. But like, and it's Pence, and then I think it's the Speaker. So it would be President Pelosi potentially if Pence got impeached too.
They wouldn't take him out, though. There's not enough time.
It's not enough, right. But he would have to run.
Yeah.
He would have to run.
He would not get fucking elected. There's no way. If he ran.
You know what the problem is?
Yeah.
Motherfuckers be thinking they Trump. Like, his circle.
That's why he got elected.
So, like, Lindsey Graham and all them, they try. But it's something about, look, of course I'm not in favor of his presidency or really anything he does, but you got to give it to his ability to. He's a used car salesman. He knows how to charm whoever he needs, right?
Yeah.
But whatever, we'll see. I'm trying to keep it evergreen because I don't know when exactly it's going to be released. But yeah, his impeachment is always going to be important. Yeah. What I want to ask you though, before we get out of here, with You Be the Cure, since you stepped away from the presidential advisory, what are your goals with this initiative?
Yeah, man. Basically, I want to treat people and not just disease. Okay. So, as a health professional, man, a lot of times we treat cancer, right? We treat HIV, we treat diabetes, we treat hypertension. Mm-hmm. We largely overlook the people for which those diseases impact. Okay. I mentioned at the break that I had lived in South America for a year. I was down there working with the Argentina's principal HIV and AIDS Foundation, the Fundación Huésped, and I was seeing people living with HIV. And really, at the end of that year, bro, I realized that, like, no matter what we did for people in, like, hospitals, like, we were still going to send them back out into a world that itself was disease, like poverty and violence and discrimination and racism. And that was making people sick. So, like, if we didn't deal with that, then, like, we were never going to, heal people, right? Mm-hmm. And so I started thinking about, like, what does it look like to, like, cure poverty instead of, like, disease? Or give people community instead of substances to check out a community, right? Mm-hmm. So with You Be the Cure, man, just trying to impact government, civil society, faith-based institutions around health and wholeness, not as just the absence of disease, but the presence of people themselves. And so people first approaches to health, people first approaches to equity and equality, how people identify, and really, man, just kind of merge this ideal of health and human rights as a social justice issue, and not just one or the other. And you getting that out through your speaking engagements. Yeah, man, speaking, writing, consulting, all of that. You can catch me on Instagram at YouBeTheCure. At YouBeTheCure. Facebook. Ladies, he's not single. At YouBeTheCure. But Facebook at YouBeTheCure. He does have single friends, and by that I mean me, okay? Yeah. And Twitter at Ulysses Burley. At Ulysses Burley. And holler at my man Clark Jones. Yeah, I'll be retweeting. So when you see that one retweet that or whatever, that's me. He's got the blue check. I don't got a check. I'm getting it. I got that because of Obama. Yeah, Obama did that for him. So he made line again before I did. That's okay. I'm gonna get a blue check, and I might get my letters one day too. Shout out to A-Rose. Shout out to the brothers down there, man. Y'all still my guys. This has been awesome, man. I'm so glad I got to catch up with my brother, Ulysseus Burley. Once again, it's at YouBeTheCure. Follow us, Classic Black Dude, on all social media, and myself is at the Clark Jones. Thank you to James Webb in the studio. Shout out to Studio 71. This has been another episode of Classic Black Dude, man. Take care of yourselves. Listen to what we say. Heed yourself. Take your time when you meet a chick, and vice versa, or a guy, or whatever. Have fun, but just be careful. Love is love.
All right, y'all.